Hey everyone, hope you're doing well. This is the Deep Dive. My name is Drew Creekmer. I'm the Director of Advisory Services here at Creekmer Wealth, and I'm joined, as always, by John Creekmer, our founder and Senior Wealth Advisor. And John, we're going to talk about some big picture financial planning that we've really been blessed to see more and more of these conversations coming up with clients around legacy planning. And that's going to look different for everyone. We'll dive into what that looks like here in a minute, but it's a really fascinating conversation. John, before we get too far down into that topic, what's front of mind for you? What's been going on in your life?
I'll tell you what, I've been thinking a lot lately just about my kids, my grandkids. I've been thinking about just the things that are important, those core values that are important for Stacy and I, and then how do we transition that as far as to the next generation or continue to transition that. And so it's led to a lot of great conversations, Drew, with our clients, quite honestly, as we meet, as we get lunch together, as we have breakfast, as we have meetings, as we just kind of see each other out in the community. And a lot of it really is in development and some things coming out the pipeline that we're working on internally on just releasing a number of things because we're seeing this so oftentimes those decisions that we make financially, they're tied to something in our life that's not money related. And Drew, I was thinking back that you have your master's degree from Kansas State University in financial planning with an emphasis in behavioral finance. Can you kind of walk through what behavioral finance is and how do we actually think through that and apply it?
Yeah. So behavioral finance, most basically, is just really the background or history in each of our personal lives that leads us to make the decisions that we do around money. So maybe how we were raised, how our parents or grandparents, how they viewed finances, that ultimately impacts the way in which we make decisions in our own personal financial life. And so it's really the study of the psychological rationale behind how and why we make decisions around money. And the reason why that's so important is we all know that one of the biggest mistakes that we all can make in our financial life is making an emotional decision. And so understanding personally that background is really helpful for each of our advisors to be able to walk through clients and understand their financial background to help make strong behavioral finance decisions. And so, John, I know you talked a little bit about things that you're thinking through and conversations we've had with clients. And so, you've been doing this now for our firm's been around for about 30 years at this point. And one of the things I know me and you have talked about is some of our favorite conversations, most meaningful conversations are with clients that we've known for years and sometimes decades. And we've helped take care of the dollars and cents financial planning side of things. But now the conversation is really shifting towards
Mm.
more of a legacy conversation of how do they use the tool that is money to create a legacy in their family or in their community. And John, why don't you just kind of walk through the impetus of that conversation for yourself and your career and then how we've seen it played out across all of our offices around the country?
I started noticing probably about 20 years ago that we may have two clients, and these two clients look very similar. So similar in age, life stage, similar financially as far as income and assets. And I started noticing that some clients would lay out the financial plan for them. They would stay on their financial plan, and then other clients would get distracted by the news, the media, something they've read, something somebody said, and then they would not actually make the decisions that aligned with what they were saying before. And I couldn't figure out, man, why did one stay on task and one not? And we started to realize that the ones that stayed focused on the financial plan, accomplishing their objectives, they actually had identified the things in life that are most important to them, their core values. And the ones that did not stay on track did not have a good understanding of their personal values. And so as I started digging deeper, Drew, I started going back to some basic psychology that we see with people. And so put on your thinking cap. So remember Maslow's hierarchy of needs. There's five different levels of needs that all people have. The first one, the foundational level, is physiological needs. That's your breathing, your food, your water, shelter, clothing, sleep. Then it goes up to safety and security. So as your employment, that's your health, your family, your social ability. Third is love and belonging, friendship, family, intimacy, sense of connection. Well, then you get those higher levels that whenever you kind of ascended to all those, self-esteem, confidence, achievement, respect for others, the need to be uniquely an individual. And then at the top is self-actualization. Well, that's when you have creativity. That's when you have acceptance. That's when you have a purpose. Those, whenever the things that are most important to you, you're living them out every single day. Well, Drew, I started realizing that has a lot of connectivity to what I see in clients' lives on those that actually stayed focused and on their financial plan, they actually were not being concerned about how they were going to pay for their food. They were not being concerned about the dollars that were coming in to take care of their basic needs. They were actually starting to think through things bigger, like impact in the community. They were actually having conversations about how do we take values and transition to the next generation? Or how is there meaningful impact in the life that I live today that's going to play on for generations after I'm gone? It's, in other words, they have ascended to that self-actualization from Maslow, to that pinnacle level of saying, it's bigger than me. And so the conversations changed from, hey, what are you going to do whenever you retire, to like, I'm planning on traveling. Well, how much travel can you do in 30 years? And so they've actually changed their mindset. And so where we're at now, Drew, it's really about helping people to say, hey, where am I at? Am I focused on those base level needs, paying down my debt, making sure I have a budget in place, making sure I have an emergency fund to take care of things? And if so, well, then let's make sure we take care of the conversations and the needs we need to walk through to take care of those. Or maybe they're at a point and saying, I've walked through life, everything is set. I have this pool of money set aside for retirement. And so I'm ready to do that, go to that next stage. Here's the things that I love to do. I've identified those things, but I can't retire. I don't know where the check's going to come from every month. I used to get a check when I worked, but if I don't work, where's the check coming from? So their mind's gone back to the physiological, right? But they're at a point where they've already ascended up. So it's like, let's put in place the tools they need and the strategies they need and tie it together so they have the confidence to move forward. Or we kind of get to that point where it's like, how do we transition the core values, the things that are most important to me, to that next generation? And a lot of that involves the money, right? How do I transition the money in a way that makes sense to where we're not hurting the next generation, but we're enabling them to live out those core values that are near and dear to us? Well, it's about having a plan that involves a tax plan. It involves an estate plan. It involves a logical trust plan that actually assists in taking those assets and transition next generation. So, Drew, it's about saying, let's have a plan together wherever we are at on the entire financial hierarchy of needs. And let's transition the conversation to say, let's make sure we help people make great decisions, not just to live an incredible life, but to live an incredible life that's impactful wherever they're at, as far as in the stage of life where they're at.
Yeah. Yeah. And I love that. And ultimately, John, I think that's why we love doing this job every day, is people make an incredible impact. And we've seen some amazing things, right, over the last 30 years that our clients have done, which is such an awesome blessing to be a part of. One thing I want to say, if you're in the group that John spoke about, where you're concerned about those physiological needs of, hey, where's my income going to come from in retirement? Or if the market falls 20%, I'm going to have to go get a part-time job. Or if you're thinking anything along those lines where you're just concerned about the dollars and cents, reach out to your advisor. Trust us, our team has an income plan that's been stress tested, that's been built by a certified financial planner and their team. And we have an answer on those questions. And so definitely reach out to our team, because we don't want you being stressed or concerned about that side of the coin. And so definitely reach out to your advisor in that regard. Now, John, let's say you're someone that has worked with our firm maybe for a long time, or maybe it's just, hey, you're a newer client, you've been with us for 6 months, but that really more big picture legacy conversation really struck a note with you. It really was interesting. What would you tell someone's a good starting point to begin walking through that conversation?
Yeah, I'll tell you what, we'll put in the notes here some links to a couple of interviews that I've done, as far as on our podcast, and just the phenomenal communication and just walking through exactly step by step of what you need to do to begin exploring some deeper ways to bring some concepts and bring it into firm actionable statements and things that you can do. And so we'll put some links in there, a couple interviews that I did, listen to those, but then also some resources and some questions to start asking yourself to help you start to identify what things are most important to you. And I'm going to tell you, the very first thing is you want to have those conversations with yourself, and if you have a significant other or a spouse, to make sure you go through that. But then I'm going to give you some homework to put together an actual family creed of what's most important to you and why. Well, that's going to give you the centering, so you can say, off of this, we can now build a firm foundation to build a plan we want to go forward. So make sure to check out the links in the show notes. There'll be some great information there of interviews I've done with other people speaking on the exact topic.
Yeah. Absolutely love that. Some great action items for each and every one of us, John. And once you've gone through, listen to those shows, and maybe put together that family creed, reach out to your advisor. We've walked through this type of conversation with a number of clients through the years, and we've helped fill our advisors in on how we like to do that. Our team's standing by and ready to help in whatever way we can, whether it's to answer that physiological concern or to look big picture and start moving into that legacy phase. So, John, we covered a lot of ground here. Actually thought it's kind of funny. We thought this was going to be a shorter conversation, but I think it's because we're so passionate about this topic. We went a little bit long here, but what's one thought you want to send us out into the week with?
I'll tell you, the number one thought is, guys, know your core values. In other words, say, what are those things that are so near and dear that drive your decisions? Make sure you write those down and then ask yourself, once you do them, sometimes it's aspirational. It's like, this is what I should be. But then go back and ask yourself, how am I living this out? Whatever the core value is. Maybe it's honesty, maybe it's integrity, maybe it's family, maybe it's faith, whatever that might be. Let's go through, write down what those core values are, and then ask yourself the next question: how daily am I living this out? And then from there, that's the beginning part of the conversation about how do you set your finances upon your core values.
Absolutely love it. Great way to send us into the week, everyone. And guys, we covered a lot of ground. If something stood out to you, reach out to our team. We're standing by to help in any way that we can. We absolutely love working with each and every one of you, and we look forward to talking to y'all soon. So thanks for the time, guys. Have a great week.